not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual purge sanctioned by the U.S. government. Weapons of Class 4 and lower have been authorized for use during the purge. All other weapons are restricted. Government officials of ranking 10 have been granted immunity from the purge and shall not be harmed. Commencing at the siren, any and all crime, including murder, will be legal for 12 continuous hours. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be unavailable until tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. when the purge concludes. Blessed be our new founding fathers and America, a nation reborn. May God be with you all.
I said I was going to make a video about this, before I take my little hiatus. And, I was just thinking about that comment that I left the other day about being politically homeless, black people being politically homeless, because we truly are, politically homeless, especially black men, if I want to get into specifics. I guess, as a black man, it is about feeling politically homeless. I want to bring black women into the same space because, they're attached to us, and, when shit hits the fan, they're not gonna know what hit them, what's going on, why this is happening. They're like children to me. So I'm sure y'all seen the shit on the news, dude shooting up the FBI office, all being tied back to the FBI raiding, Donald Trump's mansion or whatever they raided. What's that shit called? Murcielago? What's it called? Not Murcielago. That's a damn Lamborghini. But whatever that place is, that his resort or whatever. And I'm not surprised. All these people that, whether militias or talking about big government, or the people that just, they get such a hard on, when it comes to Donald Trump, as flawed of a person as he is. They get such a hard on, he's bringing, something back to the White House. He's making America great again. And it's all this racism, like, just, thinly veiled with patriotism and small government. And, like I said, when it comes to, the Second Amendment, that a lot of people feel some type of way about me speaking about and how passionate I am about it, because I'm like, black people need to wake up and realize the hostile environment in which they're in. You keep co-signing the Democrats ain't doing shit for you. No tangibles, just symbolism. And then they want to take away your tools and your weapons, talk about crime and violence in the black community. Yeah, that's all economic related. Prolonged exposure to poverty. America has never given black people a fair shake. Always screwing us over, burning down our communities, enacting policies against us. All these things that I've discussed multiple times. Redlining, blockbusting, eminent domain, urban renewal, purging a black community, burning down of Tulsa, convict leasing, debt peanut, all this stuff I've talked about. Right? And so, they try to use the gang violence that goes on in the black community, as a result of, economic marginalization and not having enough fathers in the home that are gainfully employed. Yes, it is a problem. But white supremacy, if shit hits the fan, will be a greater problem. Yeah, Ray Ray and Pookie right now, that's where the majority of the homicides are in the black community, and it's not a bunch of hooded Klansmen running around picking off black people. But as we saw in Hurricane Katrina, all of a sudden it's pheasant season, like those white folks said down there in Louisiana. When white people have their little fantasies about zombie apocalypse, their fantasy is about shooting other human beings, making them just, the undead. That kind of justifies it. But you better believe when shit hits the fan, we are the zombies. Some of y'all need to go back and watch some of these documentaries about, Hurricane Katrina and black people being shot at on the bridge. White people holding up signs, you loot, we shoot. I mean, they'll use anything to justify it, killing your ass. Because they've been wanting to do it. And all they need is society to collapse enough in order, to do it. Now, all they have to have is a state of an emergency. No police are coming. Ambulatory services have been suspended. And black people are going to be up shit's creek. Especially if with all the... That's why I think all these white people always talk about Black Lives Matter. They talk about Black Lives Matter more than black people talk about Black Lives Matter. We already know that's the LGBT gay-ass organization headed by a bunch of gay-ass black women. We already know that shit. But white people be foaming at the mouth, acting like there's some coordinated, organized situation with Black Lives Matter. They always bring it up Antifa. Antifa are a bunch of young white kids that they screwed over that come out of the suburbs, who now can't afford homes because of the boomers, snatching up all the wealth. Now they got to pay, come out of college, $100,000 in debt. They got to pay, $500,000 for a 2-bedroom bungalow. You see, so that's why, you'll have the white kids with the Antifa and shit, and all the ones that don't fit in, all the ones that can't cut it in white society. They're the ones that are prone to be a part of Antifa. But Black Lives Matter, it's not a organization like a militia, like the 3 Percenters or the Oath Keepers. They keep trying to make it, like it's like that. And it just becomes a point where white people can focus their anger. Now, I believe that this country is seriously, and I've said this before, you can go back and look at some of my older videos talking about the topic, even on my other Sarge WP channel, talking about, the collapse. Because personally, I think white folks are a bunch of savages that hide underneath the surface like a crocodile on a placid lake. All you got to do is disturb the water a little bit and the beast will come out. So right now, and people aren't paying attention to what's going on with the Supreme Court and New York. You have the federal government at odds with one another. Or the federal government and the states at odds with one another. And yeah, it's always bias and out of not convenience, but it's always, if the Republicans don't want to do something, states' rights. If the Democrats don't want to do something, states' rights. Right? Republicans, we want to keep our slaves, states' rights. Democrats, we want to be able to maintain and preserve our gun control, states' rights. Right? That's how it works. But I'm looking at the situation with the Supreme Court and the state of New York and the state of California. And I'm like, they're at serious odds with one another. Supreme Court says this is what it's going to be. Boom. The highest court in the land. Right? And then you have a state openly defying that. Don't you think if a state is openly defying the federal government, that encourages the people to openly defy the federal government? Don't you get that? I mean, how is the Supreme Court going to enforce, its law? They move so slow. They move at a snail's pace. So So, again, it's another 10 years of tyranny until the lawsuits hit and everything, and maybe New York will get sick of it. But I'm just saying the overall theme is the state's saying middle fingers up, fuck you to the government, and so will the people. It's the same thing that happened with George Floyd, and Derek Chauvin, the police officer had his foot on his neck. Same thing. I don't know how many white people, they were like, but y'all don't have to tear shit up. And I'm like, no, that's what's going to happen. First off, Colin Kaepernick tried to warn y'all when he took a goddamn knee and tried to engage and have a discussion about the situation non-violently. White people were like, we don't want to hear it, nigga. You need to stand and respect the American flag, right? They didn't want to hear it. Then George Floyd happened, and black people went out there tearing shit the fuck up. And then all of a sudden, then they start, screaming and everything else about how violent they were. And like I've said in the past, I'm like, nah. I'm like, when those that are tasked with the responsibility of enforcing the laws can't even follow the rules themselves, there's no reason why anybody else should follow the rules. And when you have states openly defying the Supreme Court, I don't care what way it goes, you're going to have people basically jump up and say, well, they're in disagreement. That's not a legitimate government. And I agree with this side or that side. And then, now you're really starting to talk about unraveling, of American government and American society. And see, once the government is not there and those systems aren't in place, then you're going to start seeing white folks go out here and do whatever the fuck. Yeah, see, now it's time to get rid of these niggers. Time to get rid of them. Then you're going to start seeing shit like that. It's time to purge them. I'm saying think about it. If there was ever a true collapse of the government, black people running around here, police is racist. They racist. And then turn around and talk about police need to save us. I'm like, I thought they were racist. They're not going to save you. The damn white nationalist that you don't like, the fucking police, that's his brother. What you talking about? But yet black people out here, Weez needs gun control. Weez needs gun control. Have your ass out there with nothing but your ass. If shit really hit the fan. If there were no laws, if there was no government, if everything collapsed, again, you see the seething bullshit all the time in the comment sections on YouTube with anything that pertains to race. You see the seething when it comes to like white people on Fox News and shit like that in the comments. You see the shit. It's all over YouTube. Read the fucking comment sections. You see how they really fucking feel. And so, first chance they get, oh, you mean if I shoot this nigga, the cops ain't coming? You know what I'm saying? They're going to be like the dude with the glass eye and freaking Last Action Hero and shit. Excuse me. I went to Chester Theory. You know what I mean? Gonna walk up, shoot your ass. Hello? I just shot this nigga and I did it on purpose. I said I shot this nigga and I did it on purpose. Right? And there's going to be no sirens. There's going to be no police. There's going to be none of that shit. Only if everything comes back to normal will there be some, post fucking trials or some shit like that. If shit actually gets, pulled back under control. It's like the what was that movie? Freaking, what was that? Hotel Rwanda, or what movie was that? The shit about the Hutus and the Tutsis. I think it was When It Rains in April with Idris Elba. Was that the name, or was Don Cheadle? Hotel Rwanda was Don Cheadle, and then I think When It Rains in April or something like that. I think that was Idris Elba. But anyway, that type of bullshit. That type of shit. Like, again, when everything's going down and nobody's coming to the rescue. Again, and it's funny how, I argue with these white people. They're always talking all this bullshit about, poverty has nothing to do with white people engage in crimes and shit like that. But yeah, these are the same motherfuckers that write books like, 9 Meals Away from Anarchy, or make videos, 9 Meals Away from Anarchy. Knowing how much society will collapse and how much people will give into their instincts when they can't get certain things and their quality of life goes down. Y'all trust white folks way more than me. Seriously speaking. Y'all trust it way more than me. I know that there's some savages that shit turns into Mad Max and the Road Warrior once certain things fall apart. It's in them. Despite all the projecting that they do, and they want to put it on everybody else and make everybody else a Klingon and say, oh, the black people, they're violent and all the shit that they do. Despite all of that crap that they do. Despite all of it. You know, they like to sit there and put that shit on us. When really, again, all you got to do is look at their history. You know what I mean? They kill each other for land and gold and resources. They kill each other. But yet try to present themselves as the benevolent force in the universe, and that the only reason why society is remotely civilized is because of them. All I'm saying is, black people, you don't have a party. You're politically homeless. And you're a minority in this country. That white people outnumber you 5-1. You know, our women are batshit crazy. They somehow think that their sass is going to get them through, you know, some shit popping off. They're idiots. You know what I mean? So mainly I'm talking to black men, and they're perhaps the handful of black women, you know, that got some goddamn sense, which, you know, in my comment section tends to be all the African and Caribbean black women, not the African American women. They're just full blown retarded. But the African women are like, you know, I'm listening. You know, they're always in the comments. They listening. They're like, yeah, y'all motherfuckers be up here thinking this nigga Pete crazy, but this nigga has nigga quite a few things. You know, I don't understand why y'all can't see the pattern of behavior. It's very obvious to me. I'm like, this country is cracking. Okay, shit is sliding. The wealth inequality, you know, all that stuff. You know, it is problematic. It doesn't take much. You know what I mean? All you gotta do is, you want to see shit collapse, all you gotta do is just raise the price of gas to the point that nobody can really afford it. Just go $10 a gallon overnight, and this whole society will just literally fold and collapse. Cars will be abandoned on the side of the road and shit like that. Just by raising gas to $10 a gallon. The whole infrastructure of America is for people to literally drive the long distances that they drive from where they live to their job and everything. And if they can't do that, you know, if they don't, you know, do the whole, not everybody can do remote working. I'm saying all these things, if they can't do that, then shit immediately starts falling apart. The trucks can't get and transport goods from one point to another. It immediately starts. The American infrastructure is extremely fragile. And y'all don't even prepare for that. Fuck the racial shit. Fuck the racist shit and what people are going to be on. No, I'm just talking about whatever, any sort of natural disaster. A solar wind, for that matter. Telecommunications going down. As black people, we are the first ones asked out. And then we got threats from not only externally, but internally. Because a lot of black people can't weather the storm because they're already in poverty. So the first people that they're going to target are going to be you. And that goes for pretty much any community. People are going to target the people around them and where they live. And since America is not, you know, this sort of heterogeneous mixture of people, and it's people are racially segregated by their communities, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see those at the bottom within their own particular community terrorizing other people in their community and victimizing them. Because, you know, survival doesn't give a shit about race. It doesn't give a shit about politics. It doesn't give a shit about religion and your God. It doesn't give a fucking shit when your stomach is going raw. Doesn't give a shit. Or when you got little babies to feed. You know what I'm saying? Like people always sit there, they see he knocked the old lady over and hit her over, pistol whipped her, and she's got a gash, and how could you do that to a little old lady? Because he'd rather see a little old lady with her head bloodied on the ground than have to stare his, hungry daughter in the face. A lot of y'all be out here acting like Pookie doesn't have babies. like Pookie doesn't have mouths to feed. A lot of people want to create, the idea that, all these folks are so much monsters that to nobody in their life they're a hero. It's funny how white people can always tell that story whenever they want to make some make-believe character, that's a drug dealer on a TV show or some sort of criminal on a TV show. What was that movie where that white guy went to jail and then he went and like his wife left him and shit like that? I forget what the name of that movie was, with this white guy and he became a white supremacist while he was in jail, and then they had that climactic scene at the end of the movie where he was fighting the head white supremacist dude. Oh, they can always show you there's two sides of a coin. They can always show you when it comes to them, but when it comes to us, no. No, these niggers are just monsters, and they're savages, and they're foaming at the mouth for white blood, the blood of white children. Ah! They always do that bullshit. Not wanting to understand how society works beyond, their point of view. But, I'm just looking at this shit is extremely fucking volatile right now. And a lot of you all are not getting it. Y'all just sitting around like, I can't wait till the next election. This shit is volatile as fuck right now. And America's about to bump gums with China over Taiwan because they control all the goddamn microchips. And then they're trying to figure out when they should attack. Or if Russia decides, they want to do something with the whole U.S.-Ukraine situation. And then Korea is sitting there like, maybe I should jump in. That would be the person. I mean, you want to talk about serious global world war? 3 major countries. Again, the World War II, it wasn't just Germany. Germany had access, allies. Italy, they had Japan. There was more than one country involved. So if you don't think that Russia, China, and freaking North Korea won't come together and form Voltron, you got another thought coming. They're all dictatorships, basically. You got another thought coming. And all it's going to take is one nuclear bomb to go. I mean, it'll be a shit show. Whatever life you thought you were going to have, whatever lifestyle you thought you were going to live, that shit is going to swiftly come to an end. And y'all not prepared. That's why I actually respect the white preppers a little bit more, regardless of whatever racial bullshit they may be on. That's why I respect them a little bit more, because at least they prepared for some shit. Black people, please. They ain't ready. It's going to be a whole bunch of hooting and hollering, overweight black women, out of shape, like that. What was that TV show that they had, the fucking Island, or what show was that, where they was naked and alone, where the black people were just, coming there all cocky, yes, and we are tribal people, and the jungles are in our DNA, and they failed miserably. Out of shape, first ones to get sick. Dysentery, diarrhea, just all type of dumb shit. Not ready. Just thinking, well, my melanin will get me through this. Bullshit. Delusional thoughts. And a lot of black people are delusional. All I'm saying is the way things are going, how galvanized the right, the right base is, political right, and their base is energized and shit like that. However you want to see it, it's either going to be Donald Trump or it's going to be Governor DeSantis of Florida. And he's got his own personal shit, elitist shit, went to Yale and all this. Oh, he's all type of fucked up. He's down there beefing with Disney World, with the whole, the whole gay shit and everything else. And I actually partially, agree, largely agree with that, because I'm like, while everybody's saying don't say gay, no, they're saying you can't teach the fucking sexuality to fucking freaking toddlers and preschoolers and kindergartners and shit. That doesn't need to be taught in school. But I disagree with him on the critical race theory shit. It's not about making another group feel bad, because they don't want to hear the history of white supremacy and how it's affected black people. Because once you talk about the history and then how it affects people over the course of generations, then when we get to the reparations conversation, then that starts to make more sense. And they don't want that to happen. So again, the idea that, like I got to disagree with somebody on every fucking thing, or and I can't agree with them on one thing, or vice versa. Like, that's stupid. It's like the same with Matt Walsh. I agree with him on the LGBTQ shit, but when it comes to, black people and reparations and how racism actually works or whether it exists, totally disagree with him on that. But I'm just saying, like, this is where we are. In my opinion, a Republican will win the presidency. And it's going to be the same thing as it was with Trump, where all the white nationalists coming out the woodwork, they're going to feel energized. Yeah, nigga, get back in chains. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be all that bullshit. You know what I mean? They're going to be out here. You're going to see more, mass shootings. You're going to see more of that Christchurch bullshit, or what you saw at the Top supermarket, because they're going to feel like it's our time. You're going to see that. And y'all running around, acting like shit is all sweet, voting for the party that intends on disarming you, like the dumbass that you are. You won't sit there and tell the Democrats take it off the fucking table, because we're being surrounded by, the rise of white nationalism. Nah, y'all up there, take the guns away and we'll be good, and we'll be safe because of white police officers. Yeah, you dumb fucks. Black people is dumb, man. I mean, just dumber than dumb. But this is what we're faced with. This is the reality, the ugly reality of what we're faced with. Again, for further evidence, I direct you to the comments section of any video on YouTube that has anything to do with race. Oh, and God forbid, let it be some sort of criminal act. Oh, God. They're just, it's the same usual suspects in the comment section, foaming at the mouth, saying the same thing, making LeBron James jokes. Where's Black Lives Matter? Jumping up and down, talking about, the usual suspects. I mean, the same old shit. He didn't do nothing. That's their favorite one. We was kangs. Oh, they get a kick out of that shit in the comment sections. So again, there's more people out here that don't fuck with you than you think. They'll smile in your face. You go in the supermarket, you walking around, like even the white boy that shot up the Top supermarket sat there and talked to a black man on a fucking park bench, and then still went through with the shit. So don't think just because they smiling in your face and you talking to him that, well, he's talking to me, he's not a white supremacist, he doesn't have bias against black people. Yes, he does. You need to wake up, smell the coffee. Anyway, I got to get ready to go. That's all I got to say. That's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, or subscribe. Anyway, I'm out.
Tonight, an I-Team exclusive, new video and information on the men who claim to have set up vigilante patrols in Algiers Point. Did the West Bank turn into the Wild West in the days following Hurricane Katrina?
Let's go to WDSU News Channel 6 reporter Travers Mackel with the I-Team investigation you'll see only on 6. Travers?
Well, Norman, we talked to the victim of a vigilante shooting as well as neighbors over here in Algiers Point. Many of them tell us that in the days following Hurricane Katrina, some men felt compelled to take matters into their own hands. Algiers Point was a mess after Hurricane Katrina hit the area. You can see in this home video, trees were down, power out, but no flooding. Kathy Carmack never evacuated. She stayed in her home on Belleville Street the entire time. Here she is, sitting on her porch, in home video taken before power was restored to the city.
It was horrific. To me, it was.
Kathy says, making matters worse, the local militia who set up shop to defend the area.
Well, you hear gunshots. You see them running down Belleville Street with their rifles and their guns after somebody. I mean, it was like a 24/7 parole by them because there was nobody here at that time. There wasn't any army, police, or anything.
One of the men Kathy says patrolled the point, this man, Paul Gleason, her neighbor, who spoke out 12 days after the storm hit.
Did you have any problems with looters?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. But you did.
They're all dead.
What happened?
We shot them.
How many people you shoot?
38.
38 people. What did you do with the bodies? You take them to?
Gave them to the Coast Guard.
With a cup of red wine in one hand and riding a tractor from Blaine Kern's Mardi Gras world, Gleason told his story to Esteban Balog and Michael Orsini, two cops from Pennsylvania who came to New Orleans to help provide security after the storm.
I got a sense that he wanted to tell somebody his activities. This is what happened. This is how bad it was. The emotion that he was talking with was live or die, and I had to do what I had to do.
Oh,
We tried to shoot to put them down. We didn't try to shoot and kill.
Oh, okay. So did you
We killed a number of them.
How many did you kill roughly?
Who cares? No. Who cares? What matter?
Yeah, I hear you.
It doesn't matter. They chose to die. They chose to commit suicide. They opened up on us, so we fired back.
It makes me sick. It makes me sick to my stomach to even, hear that guy talking about how many people they shot, killed, and,
One man shot in the days after Hurricane Katrina is Donnell Harrington. He shows the scars from a gunshot wound to the back. Harrington says he was in Algiers Point a few days after the storm when a vigilante fired at him with a shotgun.
We was just walking through the neighborhood.
Do you have any problems with looters?
Harrington says he was not looting or causing any problems.
That was just an opportunity for them to, to do just what they did, for their own personal reasons.
Harrington couldn't say for sure if Gleason was the man who shot him.
The only thing I remember him saying is a bunch of, racial slangs, using the N-word and just,
After being shot, Harrington went for help and ended up at West Jefferson Medical Center.
Basically, most of the individuals that stayed back, they all felt the same way, that they will protect their property with any force necessary.
Kathy points to signs like this made by Gleason.
Where he had big boards, signs that you'll be shot if you cross this path and things like that.
So we asked her, could her neighbor, Paul Gleason, kill?
If he was drunk, yeah. Because that made him feel like, God, I hate to say that. But, yeah, I think so. That's just me personally. Yes, I do. I do.
So you're probably wondering what happened to Paul Gleason. Well, you can hear clearly in that tape he has an accent. He said he's Irish. We talked to his ex-wife. She told us in the weeks after Hurricane Katrina, after an altercation over here in Algiers Point, Paul Gleason was deported back to the United Kingdom. His ex-wife also told us she doesn't believe much of what he said. She says her ex-husband, Paul Gleason, had a very wild imagination. For now, we're on your side live in Algiers Point. I'm Travers Mackle, WDSU News Channel 6.
Well, the FBI now has that videotape where Paul Gleason says he shot 38 people. If you'd like to see the entire unedited interview with Paul Gleason after Hurricane Katrina, log on to WDSU.
As I said, new homes and counting in this one neighborhood. The homes here for musicians who need affordable housing. The idea was started by Harry Connick Jr. and Branford Marsalis. They're behind the project. But as we said, problems in the city do linger, and so do questions about what happened 4 years ago in the wake of Katrina. This is a story about vigilantes who were actually roaming the streets armed with guns, some allegedly shooting people. They were private militias, some taking the law into their own hands. Why did they do that? And are police actually investigating? Tonight, Gary Tuckman went looking for answers in this troubling report.
Listen to these shocking comments made by Hurricane Katrina survivors days after the storm.
We shot them. They were looters.
Is this true? We came to New Orleans to find the people in this documentary shot by Danish filmmakers. And to talk to this man, who says 3 nights after Katrina, he saw 3 armed white men, one of whom pointed his gun at him.
He said, "Nigga, I'm gonna get you."
Donnell Harrington, who says he was merely walking to a ferry boat in the mostly white neighborhood of Algiers Point, was shot in the neck. But it wasn't over.
I managed to get up to my feet, and the guy let off another shot, and he hit me in my back, and I fell and hit the ground again.
His life was saved by this surgeon, who says his hospital typically gets 1 or 2 gunshot victims over a 30-day period. But in just the few days following Katrina...
How many gunshot wounds did you get?
6 to 10.
So that's pretty unusual.
Yes.
The doctor says about half of those gunshot victims died. Clearly, people were taking matters into their own hands. There was no shortage of panic, paranoia, and lawlessness in New Orleans. So there were many in Algiers Point who took extreme measures. Measures they say had nothing to do with race, but security.
Is it fair to say in your neighborhood you organized basically a private militia?
Private militia, neighborhood watch.
But a neighborhood watch with dozens and scores of guns?
Yep.
Vinny Perval says he doesn't know who shot Donnell Harrington, but told me he and his neighbors had a huge number of weapons at the ready to keep criminals away, and that some of his neighbors had been firing shots.
I used the Second Amendment. I bared arms to protect myself, and I'll do it again.
Algiers Point residents were very blunt in the documentary.
That was our sign down the street we had. 12-gauge shotgun.
In the documentary, they appeared to be drinking beer while making these comments.
It was like pheasant season in South Dakota. If it moved, you shot it.
4 years later, we found Wayne Janik at his home.
You said, quote, it was like pheasant season in South Dakota. If it moved, you shot it.
Taken completely out of context. First of all, they said, what was the noise like over here? And I said, I grew up in South Dakota. I said, the first day of pheasant season, everybody shoots at anything that's moving.
But the inference was that you shot at somebody here.
Right, which is totally untrue.
But did you say that because you were drunk? Or?
I don't know. I don't remember the interview.
Were you bragging, or?
Probably.
Nathan Roper was also interviewed in the documentary.
You had to do what you had to do. You know, you had to shoot somebody, you had to shoot somebody.
We happened to run into Nathan Roper in an Algiers Point bar.
They never asked me if I shot anyone.
Yeah, I don't think you said you shot somebody. You said if you had to, you do it.
If I had to, if they were polka dot, green, yellow, white, black, if they were on my property, causing harm to my property, food, I gave plenty of food away to people that walked.
But you would have shot someone who came on your property.
If they was coming to harm me, absolutely.
But
yeah.
that didn't happen.
No, that didn't happen.
Vinny Perval, who wasn't in the Danish documentary, says he almost fired at somebody.
There was one when I actually forewarned them. I told them, look, I know you're there. I'm going to count to 3, and I'm going to shoot. I said 1, 2, and you hear, don't shoot. And you hear footsteps just running off.
Police and the military were nowhere to be seen in those chaotic days. But 4 years have gone by. So what you're about to hear from the man who was shot is simply stunning.
How many times has the New Orleans police talked to you about this case?
0. None.
Never?
Never.
A.C. Thompson is a journalist for a nonprofit news organization called ProPublica. He's been investigating the case for about 2 years and wrote about it in The Nation magazine.
Across the city, people died of gunshot wounds and other violence, and it seems that there was no real effort by law enforcement to figure out what happened to these people.
After Thompson's article this past December, police said they would look into the allegations. But when CNN contacted them, they declined to make any comment. But now the FBI is on the case, interviewing Donnell Harrington and people who stayed behind in Algiers Point.
At the time, or after the storm, I thought, I guess we could be considered like a neighborhood hero. When the FBI contacted me, I felt like a vigilante, a thug.
What are you?
I'm somebody that's going to protect my home. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to protect my home.
Donnell Harrington doesn't know who attacked him.
I believe that those guys were hunting black people.
And he believes there are people in this tight-knit community who do know.
So do we know if New Orleans police have seen that documentary?
Well, if the brass is watching CNN right now, we know at the very least they've seen some of the highlights. But officially, we don't know. They've had every opportunity to talk with us. They've made a point. They've made it clear they don't want to talk to us about it. We don't know what the reasons are. So we don't know if they're officially having an investigation. But we do know the FBI is investigating this case.
All right, Gary, appreciate it. Thanks very much. Coming up next, I'll look at New Orleans 4 years after the storm. James Carville and I took a tour of the city. She showed me his New Orleans. You can text your questions to James about the city's recovery and also to historian Douglas Brinkley to AC360 or 22360. As I said, Douglas Brinkley will be here as well as James Carville to answer those questions. And we'll listen to some
interview by asking Malik if he was prepared for the aftermath of Katrina.
Absolutely nothing in my life prepared me to the aftermath of Katrina. The first 2 days was normal, and then that Wednesday, you know, when people seeing that there was no hope, when they're seeing that the state and the city and the federal government wasn't planning on doing anything, when the horror stories from the convention center start leaking out, then that's when the whole dynamics shift. That's when Katrina shifted from being a disaster to a tragedy. And in this area here, we had a white militia that took up arms, and you had to pass a paper bag test. If you was darker than a paper bag, you couldn't come through Algiers Point. You know, they had blocked off all the streets. Firemen stopped being firemen and started being guards. You know, 1 minute you was doing rescue work with police, and the next minute they was pulling guns on you.
Talk about the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, the first 72 hours. What was that experience like for you, and what did you see?
The white militia here was gathering ground. And you have to understand, they look like the Klan without the hats. They were driving around in the back of trucks drunk with guns pointed at black people, not anybody else, drawing guns on them and shooting people. And you know, when I first got here, the first thing that we did was we covered up this body, this bullet-riddled body over here that you could smell for 2 blocks coming over there. There's another dead body over here that was bullet-riddled. Now, we'd already seen drowned people, but now we're seeing bullet-riddled. So who killed them? Was it the police or was it the militia? And so at the time, we didn't know which one it was because both of them were out of control. New Orleans police, long history of systemic racism, a systemic out-of-control police system. So basically, when I came to take up arms in a community that I was invited into with other people from this community, black people from this community, 2 white guys and 3 black guys from this community, took up arms to defend ourselves, defend the community against being killed by the militia. They were threatening Malik. They were driving by, pointing their guns at him, saying they were going to get you, Mayor. I don't even know if you remembered that. They were drawing their guns at him, and so we were basically like, we were like, you're not going to do that. And then the police drew guns on us constantly. This is something that, you know, people in these communities have to go through every day. But it was happening to white people who didn't live here. And they kept saying that we were going to overtake. So this is the situation. But they weren't doing anything to help people. They wanted to restore law and order. They did not want to, you know, you have to understand that there's like people trapped in their attics. There's people trapped on their rooftops. We're not talking about like a few hundred people. We're talking tens of thousands of people are going to die. And all they want to do is restore law and order. And they're turning a blind eye to the militia in this neighborhood. So we started to ask the people in the neighborhood. And they said, can you get the rotted meat out of here? Can you get the dead dogs out of here? Can you stop the militia can we get some medical services? And so from that, this beautiful thing started to emerge. So we took this incredibly historic, terrible situation and tried to turn it around, because what there was a crack in history that opened where power had lost all its control, and a space opened for the people from below to come and actually try to do something.
Well, Scott, how do you feel when you hear organizations like the NRA actually praising the Algiers militia?
It was infuriating. I mean, these guys, I was in an armed standoff with them, and I was thinking, and I'd always been like, well, maybe I should have pulled the trigger, and then I would have killed these people, and I would have gone to prison, and like all these bad things would have happened, would have stopped them from killing other people. But then when I hear the NRA praising them today, like in the 9th anniversary, I'm like, what's wrong with you? These men and women were killing people and bragging about it. They were treating them, like Malik was saying, as other. As anybody who was desperate was other, and treated like dogs or less than dogs and like they should be killed. They called it pheasant season, shooting black youth. They were like, it's pheasant season. And I'm sorry I'm so angry about it, but it's infuriating. It's not just the police. This is the systemic part of this.
Malik, why do you think the government failed so abysmally to react and provide adequate relief in the aftermath?
If to give the government too much credit by saying they failed. Because if you say that you failed at something, that means that you tried. You never tried.
Damn right.
So you know it from the get-go. You know that
Damn right.
we had a ship to run across this levee here, and it didn't break. Why? Because this levee protected whites. It protected the U.S. naval base that was here. So an ocean freighter could run across this levee, and it didn't break. I'm gonna tell you something. Long before Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans had already been inundated. Hurricane despair, hurricane poverty, hurricane racism. They had already inundated this area. So, you know, the only thing that Katrina really did is kind of expose it. And because that no one cared is the reason why we facing the ramification of it now. Because those little 9-year-old kids and them little 16-year-old kids that was in the convention center that you showed no love or compassion to is now 16, 18, 20 years old with a gun and have no love in their heart, because there wasn't no trauma counselors. The first high school that was open in the aftermath of Katrina for poor blacks had up to 75 kids in one classroom. It had more guards than teachers. It's not no accident that Chicago and New Orleans have such high murder rates. Look what we did in both cities. We destroyed all the public housing without giving no economic opportunity to no one.